What's new, crew? If you're new, my name's Cassandra, and it is that time of the month where we sit down to talk about once a month meal plans for my family of 6. We're heading into April, which means it's time to basically just meal plan for all of April. I grocery shop once a month for my large family. We try to grow as much of our own produce as we can. However, heading into this time of year is when pantries are typically at their lowest. Just waiting for the next round of garden harvest to come around. When I sit down to meal plan, the first thing I tend to do is kind of get rid of any easy meals that we have or easy things that are happening throughout the month to throw them on the meal plan, because sometimes planning for long months like April where there are 30 or 31 days, it feels like you're planning for a million meals. So the first thing is, of course, we have Easter. Easter is not my holiday to host. How our family does Easter is because my husband has 6 siblings. There are 7 of them total. Everyone just takes a holiday. It is their designated holiday. We know every year that that person does that holiday, and there's no back and forth on who's hosting what all the time. So Easter is not my holiday. It is my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law's holiday, obviously, and I will just bring something to pass. I don't know what it is yet. I might buy something from a store. I might make a pie. I don't know. We will wait and see kind of how I'm feeling at the end of April, just nearing in on that due date, getting further into the 3rd trimester. We'll see what happens. If I'm feeling really well, I will probably make something to pass. If I'm saying no, nope, then I will purchase something from a store and bring that instead. Our first real meal we're gonna do is Swedish meatballs. Still working on making sure that we're getting all that old beef out of the freezer before the new beef hits the freezer in June-ish. On that same train, we're gonna do a beef and cheese chimichanga. Usually when we do chimichangas, we do chicken chimichangas, but we're gonna switch it up this time because I've got a ton of beef. Well, not a ton, but I've got enough beef that I kind of want to make sure that we're working through it, getting that old stuff out of there. We're gonna do a Cajun orzo. I should also mention this. As of right now, as I'm filming this, today is my husband's last day of work, and he is going to get laid off for an unknown amount of time just because work is really slow. It has been a rough spring, this spring, like late winter spring, for work for him. It kind of is something that happens this time of year. I've talked about that in the past. That being said, I'm relying on our food storage, things that we have saved up and kind of like bought in bulk and things. We do plan for these things, like financially, food-wise, all that things. So we're a-okay. We know that this is just kind of like par and parcel for the type of work my husband does. And then that way, when he does get laid off, there's no stress involved. There's no, you know, we have bills to pay, or, you know, we need to make sure the house is fully stocked. We kind of plan for that throughout the year, stick money away into a savings account that we don't touch, and then if he were and is to get laid off, like has happened, this is the 2nd time he'll be laid off this year already, that it's not that big of a deal. We can relax, we can take care of projects or whatever it is, and then we can just enjoy him being home and he can enjoy his time off. So that's why we stock the food storage the way we do. That way when things happen, it's not that big of a deal. So that's kind of what this month is. I'm relying pretty heavily on what I have, and hopefully I can keep the grocery budget a little bit lower. If not, it's not that big of a deal, but it's good to fall back on, and that's kind of why we have it. So we have a lot of orzo on the shelf, so we're gonna do a Cajun orzo. We also have some fettuccine noodles on the shelf, so we're gonna do a chicken fettuccine. We are gonna do a tater tot casserole because tater tot casserole makes so much food for almost no money. I have everything I need for the tater tot casserole except the tater tots, so I'm going to make that meal for essentially what it costs for a bag of tater tots, and we will be able to eat that over the course of a handful of meals because it creates a lot of leftovers for us. And we're a family, we really like leftovers. We eat leftovers pretty much for lunch every single day, and we just like to do that. So we're going to do that. We're gonna do a teriyaki pork chop with a pasta salad. April, crossing our fingers here in Wisconsin, hopefully we can get a couple of nice mixed, actually springtime days in. Yesterday it was like 58 degrees. It was really nice at the end of March, and now for the next 4 days we have like 4 days of ice storms hitting. So it really just depends. Sometimes we can get some nice days, and I'm hoping that I can have some meals for some nice days. Maybe we can throw the pork chops on the grill or whatever and give us a little taste of something. But here in Wisconsin, the weather doesn't like really actually change and stay warm until like closer to the end of March, or the end of May, maybe even the beginning of June. So we've still got some time of some like wintry, snowy mixed days. Some really budget-friendly meals, we're doing patty melts. So we're gonna do a typical like beef patty melt, and then we're also gonna do like a turkey and bacon patty melt. So 2 different meals, gonna be really delicious, really easy. I thought I could make some potato wedges with these or something, but they should be really delicious. So we're gonna do those. We're also gonna do scalloped potatoes and a roasted ham. We bought a whole pig in the fall, and I've got a ton of hams in my freezer. We had all of our hams cut down into like 5-pound hams this time instead of getting 2 really big hams. And I'm excited to go ahead and just throw one in a roaster pot, probably on like a Saturday morning. Throw in the scalloped potatoes, maybe make some rolls or something with the kids, and have a really nice, easy kind of throw together crock pot style meal. I think it's gonna be delicious. I will probably do that meal earlier in the month just because I know that our family does ham for Easter, so we don't want to eat the same meal twice kind of back to back. So I'll make sure I do that earlier in the month, and then because Easter falls later in the month, we'll have it sort of again but not again later in the month for Easter. We are gonna do a tortellini in a ravioli sauce that I make. It's delicious. The ravioli sauce, I found that recipe on Pinterest. I've shared it before, but it's really good and really easy, and it uses ingredients that we already use and stock, so it's not like I have to buy anything special. And I have a couple boxes of dried tortellini on the pantry shelf, so this is another meal that essentially I'm not going to have to be paying for. We're gonna do a chicken broccoli rice bake. One of our favorites. We haven't done this in a minute. I was recently digging through our produce freezer full of all of the produce from 2024's garden. Last year was the year of broccoli. We grew two successions of broccoli, and therefore we had double the amount of broccoli, which is great. This is the first year I've grown enough broccoli to get us through a full year. However, we definitely have quite a few gallons left in the freezer, so I want to make sure I'm going through that and we're not wasting any of it. So this is a good meal to do that, use up some of that broccoli. And this is another one that makes leftovers. It makes for a fantastic side as well as a leftover, so we'll have it for like a main meal, and then whatever's left over we'll just use it as a side for other meals, and it works really well. Another thing I noticed that we had a decent amount of still left were frozen peppers in the freezer. I am the only one in my family of 6 that enjoys peppers on or in anything, so I don't need to grow that many of them to like put frozen in the freezer. I usually only do a couple bags. Peppers are starting to get a little rough. You can tell that they've been in the freezer for almost a year, so I want to make sure that I'm going through those, once again, not wasting anything. I don't have that many bags left, so it shouldn't be that hard to go through them, but this is just one of those meals, very easy. Use up a couple bags of those peppers and it'll be absolutely delicious. I have had this meal on my meal plan. This is the 3rd month in a row. It's an apple cider braised pork shoulder or a pork roast. I am making sure I'm doing it this month. I have a handful of meals on my meal plan here. This is kind of the first of them that can go in a crock pot or a roaster, other than that ham that we talked about earlier. We all go through seasons of life where our schedules and our routines change, and I used to do crock pot meals like every Saturday. Right away in the morning I would put a meal in the crock pot. Every Saturday I would deep clean our home and get everything kind of like set and refreshed and ready to go. It was like my day to take care of house chores, get the house back in order. That way, when I was a military wife and was alone a lot of the time and had under two, I was able to kind of tell myself, okay, if anything gets out of hand throughout the week, it doesn't really matter, because Saturdays are my days. I don't plan anything else on Saturday other than to kind of get my life back together, get our house back together. and it helped me get through those busy seasons of like my husband was gone for like 10 months and then I had the two girls, like I said, 2 under 2, and I was going to school and there was just a lot going on. It saved me in that season of my life. Well, then things changed. We came back home. All of my kids were very little and my husband was actually home. So then I switched to doing that on Fridays. That way I had our whole weekend. We went into the weekend with the house pulled back together. We got to do whatever we wanted on the weekends and it was just really nice. It's just a testament of how seasons change, routines change, and that's kind of been my routine for the last 5 years or so since we've moved back home, is I deep cleaned my house on Friday. It was like my Friday reset. It was really great. However, now we're getting to the point where my kids are older. They can help and they're more accountable to their own messes, their own chores rather, and they don't need me to pick up their rooms anymore. Like they're getting old enough where it's not really appropriate to have mom go in and clean up your bedroom or scrub your bathroom. You know, my oldest girls are almost 10 and 8. They're definitely capable of doing that. Even my son is 5. You know, you can pick up your own toys, you can make your bed, you can help put away your laundry. So now we're switching kind of back out of that Friday mode into Saturday modes, and it's been kind of nice. Saturday mornings we all work together, we get the house pulled back together, and now I'm kind of getting back into that season where it would be really nice to have things to put in the crock pot every Saturday while we do that. And then the house is cleaned, we can do it in like 2 hours, where before it would take me literally like 6 or 7 hours to do the same amount of work. So it's been really nice as kids get a little bit older to help take care of those things. I went off on that tangent to tell you back to the meal plan. These next handful of meals are all crock pot meals that I'm hoping to get in the crock pot on Saturdays for when we're doing those house resets. And then once the house is reset, we can go out, we can go do something, we can hang out, we can go out and do whatever we need to do, and we can come home and there'll be a delicious meal in the crock pot. Don't have to re-dirty the kitchen. Really simple, really easy. So one of those is that apple cider braised pork shoulder. I'm gonna make sure I do that the first Saturday of the month. We're going to do it. We're also gonna do a pulled chicken over rice with gravy, one of my kids' favorite meals, and it is so cheap and so simple and so delicious. Another one we're gonna do is a cheesy kielbasa and potatoes, probably with some roasted carrots or something. Just kind of throw a bunch of stuff in the crock pot. It's going to be so good. This is one of my favorite meals and we haven't done it in a long time, so I'm excited about that one. We are also going to do a French onion chuck roast, which is going to be absolutely delicious. We are heading into Sam's Club and doing like an in-store Sam's Club shop, and that's when we're gonna pick up those roasts. I'm hoping to pick up probably like 2 packages and keep some in the freezer and be able to throw them in. I love being able to do like roasts and pork shoulders and things like that, because then we can just shred it when we're done, put the meat in the fridge, and it makes for great sandwiches throughout the week, or meat to throw on salads or in tortillas or something. Super easy. It's like lazy man's meal prep. So I'm hoping to kind of get back into that habit. I also have Sloppy Joes. We have lots of Sloppy Joe sauce that we canned back in 2023, and I still have so much of it left. It's a really great Sloppy Joe sauce. We really like it. We're also going to do meatloaf. I really want to, at some point throughout the month of April, pull out a whole bunch of ground beef and press a bunch of burger patties, maybe make some meatballs, and also get a couple meatloafs prepped in the freezer for some either postpartum meal prep or some just like late in pregnancy meal prep. I'm hoping that I can press like a whole summer's worth of burgers, which would be a whole lot of meat, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. Those no cook prep days are some of my easiest prep days, and they're also some of my favorite. We've done those plenty of times here on my channel and I love them. They're so convenient. We're also going to do a chili mac. This is another thing. I was kind of looking at my pantry shelf. I have everything I need for it, so essentially it's a free meal. We can either pair this with oyster crackers, which I also have on my pantry shelf, or we will make some homemade rolls, some homemade bread, or something like that to pair with that. We're gonna do a Cajun lime cheesy creamy chicken. This is something that I found on Pinterest. It's a new meal for me, but once again, it had a lot of ingredients in it, but they're all ingredients that I already buy, I already stock, they're already monthly staples for us, which is the best way to keep your grocery budget low. I'm not buying anything new. I'm just taking those ingredients I already buy and putting them in a new kind of combination for a dish. So I think it's gonna be really good. I think we could probably eat that over some orzo. I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see kind of how that turns. So while digging in one of my deep freezers, I found a whole gallon Ziploc bag full of baked tacos that we put in the freezer a handful of months ago. So I figured let's pull those out. Let's use those on a day where I just could not be bothered to cook. I don't want to cook, or maybe we're getting home late from something and they're just easy to pull out, pop in the oven, and we'll be on our merry way with some baked tacos. I figured let's also do crunch wraps. We haven't done crunch wraps in a very long time. Also using up some of that beef in the freezer. But once again, things I already buy, and I think it'll be really great. We're also gonna do this kind of skillet meal I made a handful of weeks ago for the kids and myself, and it was absolutely delicious. There were no leftovers. I just kind of like pulled a meal out of thin air, and it was really great. It was kielbasa with some carrots and some potatoes, some onions, some peppers that I cooked down in butter in a cast iron skillet, and I figured this time I would also pair some cabbage with it. Once again, I'm kind of the only person in this house other than my 2-year-old that really likes cabbage, so I'll keep the cabbage separate. I will just butter some cabbage in a separate pan, and I will add it in to whoever wants it. I figured maybe we could also throw some green beans in it, but just throw a bunch of stuff with some butter in a cast iron, some salt and some pepper, and just kind of cook it down, let it caramelize, and just have a big bowl of veggies and meat and potatoes. It'll be so delicious. So we're gonna do that. We're also gonna do a queso dip for either nachos or maybe like some hot dogs with some queso on top, chili cheese dog type things, maybe some chili cheese fries. But I figured this is another one. I can make some queso in the crock pot. We have a handful of different cheeses in the freezer, and they're taking up quite a lot of room. They've been in there for almost a year. So once again, just trying to make sure we're using all of those things, getting the things out of the freezer that have been there a long time, making room for the new things that are coming in. And those will be really great. Nobody is ever mad when we have a big crock pot full of queso and we just have our own kind of wants, needs, and desires for them, and we can just pick kind of throughout the day. A great Saturday dish. I'll make sure that I'm throwing in some ground beef in there so we get some protein in it other than like the cheese. And it's just really great. We really like it. And then that way for lunch, maybe we can have some queso nachos, and then for dinner I can do the queso over the hot dogs, and it'll be so delicious. So I'm really excited about that one, and the kids will be too. Every Friday we do homemade pizzas. It is a staple around here. It's really great. Everybody looks forward to it. Everybody knows that Friday is pizza night, and it's really easy to kind of throw together. I also like doing pizzas on Fridays because whatever leftover meat is in the fridge from the week, or leftover produce, things that are starting to look a little sad, it's really easy to just chop up and throw on top of a pizza and bake it in the oven. It helps prevent food waste and things like that. And then that way on Saturdays when we're doing our big house clean, I can go through the fridge, and whatever is still in there that we didn't quite get to throughout the week is just gonna go to the chickens, but it helps kind of minimize that a little bit for us, and we're using everything that we can. For our very last meal, my husband told me to leave it open. My husband is doing some recipe testing of his own. That way after I have the baby, he is able to have a couple of meals that he knows he can cook well, that everybody likes, and he can hop in to take over dinner for me if I am stuck nursing a baby or I just need time to rest. I can do that, and he's got some meals that he can take care of on his own. So that is our entire April meal plan for our family of 6. I hope wherever you are, you guys are having a fantastic day. Thanks for taking time to hang out with me, and I will catch you guys in another one.